waiting for this to work, but I don't think it is. My name is Barry Steelman. Welcome. Red River Theaters has, on occasion, been able to produce some extraneous stuff that follows films, and this is one of those occasions. An email from Mr. Chris Stinson advising us that he and others who worked on Leave No Trace were in the immediate area here, prompted, hey, maybe we should invite them up here to see just how many very interesting questions an audience in Concord, New Hampshire can ask of 6 people and a dog
movie
named
star
Louie.
dog Louie.
Louie deserves at least one question, and that probably shouldn't be about salary. But at any rate, I still don't think this is working. I don't understand.
It should be.
So many stairs. 7, 8.
This is ours for?
Test it.
Get this thing.
You should get it on the right button.
Yeah.
Try it.
You have to say hello, Jared.
Well, it's going to be, it looks like we're going to be speaking a little louder than.
Yeah.
We're doing this
I feel like
acapella.
everyone
But that's
can
all
hear
right.
us. Yeah.
But, so I'm going to introduce Chris, and Chris is a native of Concord, New Hampshire.
I'm in New Hampshire.
And I think that kind of lends a little answer to, well, how come you can get him to come back here? That's probably the reason. So, but I'm going to turn it over to Chris. He's going to introduce you to I've already introduced Louie. He's the man. But the rest of the folks, I think you'd like to know the names and perhaps just exactly what they had to do with this. And then please summon up some questions that you might have about maybe filming in Oregon, or just, it might be interesting to know right off quick that this movie was made about 15 months ago. And just, you know, what happens in between when they stop filming and it ends up on a screen 15 months later. That might be an interesting question.
Yeah.
Chris?
Thanks, Barry. Nice intro. I'll introduce everybody real quick. That's James Parkinson. That's Wicked Mouth. My dad, Cheryl. So this is Amy, my partner in crime, my girlfriend, and we also make a ton of movies together. She was the production manager, but basically the other producer on the movie. Louie, the movie star, who played Willie Nelson, who I think everybody loves and enjoys. Jane Cohen's way up there, next to Catherine Jackson. This is Big Country. He did a ton of stuff. He's usually in movies, but accidentally. He's trying to hide from the camera. Once in a while, we just throw him in there, because he's also a good actor. Tony Ruiz, also an actor. He was actually in the movie, played a scene with Ben Foster. The scene was so good that they had to cut it. I've been making movies with Tony for almost 15 years. And then on the end is Case Barden, who makes movies. And he's been working with me for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And next to him is my brother, Jeremy, who's done 5 or 6 movies with me. And he's also from New Hampshire, Pennacook, New Hampshire, wicked far. But he's, we're all working together on a new movie now. And Jeremy gets to hang out in the office while we're out in the rain, getting dirty, we're cold, and we call him, and he's in the office crunching numbers. He's our accountant on all our movies. Anyway, that's the team. Slim, what do you got?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I noticed that Amy Greene's name was listed as a stunt coordinator. Could you, or stunt?
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your stunts?
Oh,
in this
thanks.
film?
Thanks so much for asking.
Yeah.
Person I definitely don't know in the audience. Yeah, I did the stunts for the movie, but you might think like, where were the stunts? Because there aren't like fight scenes or anything kind of Marvel like going on. But working with bees and climbing under trains and hanging onto the edge of a cliff. These are the kind of things that we put together. So at the beginning of the movie, she's when Tom gets seen by the runner. She's kind of like hanging onto the edge of a cliff. So we did a bit of stunt work to make sure that she was safe and hanging on. And then I played with a bunch of bees, not knowing if I was allergic or not, but it didn't get stung, so I still don't know. So those were the stunts in the film.
The bees were very professional.
Yeah, the bees were super professional, almost as much as the
Jeremy, what did you think of the stunts?
Pretty okay.
Were they expensive? Jeremy crunches all the numbers, so anything financial, you go to that guy. You can ask him in the lobby. Case Barden, question for you. What was your favorite part of making this movie?
Favorite part? That's tricky to say. We saw. I grew up in Seattle, and so I have a strong affinity towards the woods. So anytime we're shooting in the trees, I really enjoyed. So we shot in a bunch of places that were just like old growth forests. They're just really, really beautiful, and so it was a pleasure being out there.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
And on the last week of filming, Jeremy Stinson, what was the location?
A nudist ranch?
It was a nudist ranch. So we actually were trying to find a location that was very remote from society, and we couldn't find anything. So our location manager, who knows the area well, was like, I actually have something. It's going to be a weird proposal, but it's an actual nudist ranch, one of the few left in the country. And we went and scouted it, and I was like, this is a little weird to film out, but maybe we could. No cell phone, they had like a hard line, just off the grid, and these people choose to live that way. Beautiful land, little ponds, lakes, and they all walk around very nude. And so, out of respect for Thomason, who's a minor, we didn't want her to see a bunch of nude people walking around, they would wait until she wrapped and went home every day, and instantly they'd Velcro whatever they had on and be nude with us, and we got to hang out with them.
50-degree weather, by the way.
50-degree weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all trying to finish our day, and the robes go flying. That's right. We're shooting it.
Yeah. That was good. Yes.
I noticed that it was rated R, is that correct?
I thought PG-13, but I don't know.
It was PG? Oh,
I think it might be the
It must have been the preview before me.
one of those dirty movies previewed before, yeah.
Because it's got such a powerful message, and it seems that it'll reach more people, so it's a wonderful movie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And her son came and visited us on set in Portland with his daughter, Adam Jones, who also is a filmmaker in his own right, makes a lot of commercials and stuff. He's from Concord, New Hampshire as well, and he visited us in Portland. That was cool. My old girlfriend right there.
Hi, Chris. I have to tell you that I am so proud of you. I have known you for many, many, many years. And Amy, I've met you more recent years.
Yeah.
But what a terrific pair and couple producing these beautiful movies. But I remember many years ago being at your house in Glendale when the girls first time ventured down to LA. And you said, my dream is to come back to New Hampshire and be back in Red Sox country.
That's right. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Go Sox. I think we're winning. It's very nice. Thank you. Mary, do you have a question?
I'm just so amazed at what you do.
I just eat food and drink beer and hang out. Jackson, where's Jackson? Is he still here? Jackson, what do you got? What do you think? Was it boring? Was it too slow? I was worried you're going to be like, this is so boring. Why did my mom bring me here? Was it all right? Yeah. Would you watch it again? Nope. Jackson, you going to come be in a movie? You and Catherine? Yeah. All right, cool.
Actually, I have another question.
Oh, Mal just other people have their hands up now.
No.
Like in the credits, it said something about the state of New York. But after all, like Oregon and like all this other stuff, what did New York have to do?
We're just saying that the Yankees are losers.
Yeah.
Was
It
that-
actually wasn't that. So the film, post-production was in New York. So Deborah, the director, and the editor lived there, and so the movie was put together in New York. So everything, like physical production, was this crowd in Oregon, but when it went to the cutting room, it was New York. So that's the New York piece.
Louie would really like a question, please.
Yeah, yeah. No one has a question. Oh,
How old is Louie and what breed or mix is he?
so Louie is 7. He'll be 8 in August.
He's like 50% movie star.
We got him from a shelter in Los Angeles, actually like a 48-hour kill shelter, because there's a tough place for dogs there, especially like Chihuahuas and Pit Bulls. But he was in the shelter and just put one paw up and his little head tilted and was like that. He's a smart dog. And so I grabbed him up and he's been making movies with us ever since. So he's actually in 3 movies now. So 2 movies coming out and then the one we're shooting right now. He's gonna be a dog in that.
He's gonna be a dog in it?
Yeah, he only plays dogs.
I had one minor question. This bugged me a little bit. With Willie Nelson.
Oh boy.
The scene where they're driving in the truck, right?
Yeah.
And they go to get dropped off.
Oh boy.
And what I'm picturing is a tractor trailer truck turns onto that logging road. Was that like when you filmed it was just a truck without a trailer on the back?
Well, let's
'Cause I
turn
assume
this
that
to
truck would never
Tony,
be turned around.
who's in charge of anything on 4 wheels. He's in charge of.
That's our Transpo Coordinator right there.
4 wheels or more.
Or
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So it's the same truck that we shot in the truck stop, which was probably my favorite night, even though my scene was cut. I got to act in another scene with the truck and just being around this huge truck stop that had a movie theater and multiple restaurants and I think it was a nightclub in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just an amazing spot. So we shot the tractor with the trailer there, and then on another day we did the shoots and we did just take it with just the tractor because the roads are really narrow. We were shooting up towards Mount Hood, and just the roads, it didn't make sense. It's all about time. You need a lot of time to get these shots in one day or whatever it is. So it would have just taken too much time to get that tractor and trailer all back around to reset to do the shot. So you disconnect it, and then it's like driving like a pickup truck.
But you noticed that it was just a
Well, I
cab.
had to
Huh?
say to myself, there's no way they're gonna be able to. I'm thinking he's got
Yeah.
a tractor. I'm like, he should just pull over on the side and let it out. There's no way he should turn down that logging road.
Exactly.
James Parkinson, let's keep down the consistency. Just keep it down, James. Got a green shirt?
The movie reflects a lot on PTSD with veterans,
Yeah.
and pretty powerful. Can you talk about the research that went into that? Because that's a pretty big thing.
Absolutely. Our director, Deborah Granick, she made a documentary just before this. She's mainly a documentarian called Straw Dogs.
Straw Dogs.
Yeah. And she met a ton of vets and went pretty deep into this subject matter for about 2 years. But when we started making the movie, in Portland, we went to the VA there, and we just started kind of engaging with all the locals because we wanted it to be as authentic as possible. So it's a rare movie that you don't have like a narrative film with a bunch of actors, but you have a narrative film with a lot of real people. So there were
a lot of vets.
a number of vets in our film.
That had never acted before.
Yeah, a number of people who participated because we'd share the story with them and they were interested in it, and so they were kind of throughout that. And I know that Ben Foster, who's playing a vet with PTSD, spent about a year before we started shooting, going deep into learning about what it really means to live with that condition. So I think that's.
And Deborah, the director, before we were even involved, did at least 5 years of research before that, of just really meeting vets and trying to really understand what they're going through, which is hard for anybody who isn't, but she really did her best to try.
I think you did a great job and an honest representation.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for saying that. That's very nice.
Wicked Mash. Just a thumbs up.
He's gonna say I loved it.
All right.
How do you get involved with films of this nature? Chris?
Who wants
Do
to
you
work
have
on
an
movies?
agent? How do you find out about the projects and what's the, is there an interlocutor here or do you just pretty much line things up on your own?
I pretty much just, I'll get emails. So they'll email and say, hey, do you want to make a movie? Just after so long, they'll get it. But the movies that come range significantly in terms of budget level topic. Usually I will pretty much get a script and ask these guys if they're interested. Amy does the same thing, she gets scripts as well. And we'll talk as a team of what do we want to work on. Because I would never make a movie without these guys or just something I liked. I want all of us to be like, do we really believe in this project? Because I don't want to add to the multiplexes that, in my opinion, make kind of poopy movies that you forget in 1 hour after you've seen it. We want to make movies that last. So in terms of what we receive from material, we'll really discuss, like, do we like this, we want to make it. And as a team, we'll kind of make that decision that that's something we're interested in making. But in terms of how we get them, a lot of it, we've just all done it for so long that it's actually a really small world. That the few people that do make movies, you get in the circle quickly.
Now, how far out are you, say, like right at the moment? You're working on something in Boston. Do you have something lined up immediately to follow that?
There's 2 or 3 options. We haven't chosen one yet. And then next summer too. So it's usually a year out, but they'll come and go based on usually cast. If an actor or actress leaves the movie, then it stops it. Or if you lose money, that stops it. And things come up quickly. The ones we're looking at doing next in Boston, they're all coming up very quickly right now. So.
Just an idea of his world, sorry to interrupt. He was actually reading a script today on the way up here, so it's an ongoing thing. He's always working.
Yeah, we were driving in a van together, and he's
Yeah.
pouring through the.
Yeah.
So what is your current project?
Jeremy,
Our current project is called Sound of Metal.
what's it about?
It's about a drummer that loses his hearing and the struggle that he has to go through all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it really gets very in-depth on hearing loss and how hard that is, and changes your whole life. It's about a musician who, the band is getting bigger, and at a certain point he just loses his hearing completely and can't hide it anymore, and quits music, and he has to reinvent himself.
And we're shooting in Boston, and we've hired a mostly deaf cast. So it's going to be we start shooting a week from Monday, actually. But it's going to be a really interesting challenge. We've all been trying to learn a little bit of ASL to communicate. We'll have our interpreters and translators and everything, but we're working. Our 2 main casts are not deaf, but most of the cast in the movie is deaf.
Yeah.
So
Jackson and Catherine, if you can learn sign language, you're in the movie.
learn sign.
So I just don't know a lot about filmmaking. So this is your team, and you're like, you put this together, you read a script and really just loved the script, and then just took it, and because I thought it was fabulous. I just really enjoyed just all the music, the cinematography was really nice. It just created feeling so simply without all the chaos and stuff.
Right.
Really heartfelt. So did you cast it also?
No, I was a line producer, so I was brought on after the director.